friends, it's Jessie here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. In today's video, we are going to be writing up the budget for the third week in June. It's for the paycheck my husband receives on June 15th. And we are going to be taking a look at all of my bills and responsibilities for June 15th through the 20th, actually. Typically, I go Tuesday to Monday. However, I do have a paycheck coming on Monday from YouTube, so I'm actually just going to lump that paycheck from YouTube in with my husband's fourth paycheck in June, and that will be for next week. So this week, we have just a few responsibilities here. We're looking at the bills that fall within this week, and there's just a couple. So this should be a pretty quick and easy video. I'm going to keep it real simple. I'll be honest with you guys, I did not want to sit down and film this video today. I was actually supposed to film this video yesterday, and I've just been burnt out. So I gave myself the day off from filming yesterday, and today is actually Thursday, so a little bit behind in writing out this budget. I've basically just kind of been flying by the seat of my pants the last few days, so I'm excited to kind of get everything down on paper and have a set plan for the week. So I'm going to flip to a fresh paycheck bill tracker, which is what I use to write my budget every single week. This is the printable version of the Budget by Paycheck workbook from the Budget Mom. It's an older design. I think the one that she released in 2019. I bought the printable because I love that I can print the pages that I need. I don't have to print the ones that I'm not going to use. They don't go to waste that way. And I can print these over and over again year after year, and I love the paycheck bill tracker and the cash envelope breakdown. Those are the pages I use every single week to budget my husband's paycheck. So, what did we say the paycheck date was? Let's get that written in. Paycheck date is June 15th, so I'm gonna flip you guys around a little bit, zoom you in a smidge, and adjust the lighting a little bit, because it's pretty darn dark. I still haven't quite figured out the lighting in this little bedroom office setup that I have. If you missed the video where I did my little mini office tour, and you can kind of see my filming setup and kind of behind the scenes stuff, you can check that video out. I will link it in a card above for you. But you can kind of see in that video that my lighting situation is not perfect. I'm still trying to work on it. I appreciate your guys' patience while I kind of figure everything out. But for now, give me just a second to adjust things a little bit. Okay, so I did some adjusting. I'm honestly not sure if that is any better, but we're just going to go with it. So let's go ahead and write in the paycheck date, which is June 15th. And I'm not going to write in the income here. Typically, when using the Budget by Paycheck workbook and the paycheck bill tracker, you would write in your income. I don't disclose income here on my channel. My husband would prefer that I not do that, so I don't. So we're just going to skip that section and go straight to bills. So if you've been watching my channel for a while, you already know this. I'm sure it gets tedious listening to me say it every week, but I'm always gaining new subscribers, and I don't want anybody to be confused, so pardon me while I kind of explain my budgeting process really quickly, just a quick rundown. So the way that I use the paycheck bill tracker is by putting everything under this bills category that I'm going to pay using my checking account, using my bank card, using a credit card, that sort of thing. That all goes under bills. I do a lot of my budgeting in cash. I pull out cash for cash envelopes. I pull out cash for my sinking funds. And just to sort of differentiate the cash versus the checking, I put everything that's going to kind of get paid through my checking account under this bills category. The other category that I kind of keep stuff for my checking account is this extra debt. that is not pulled out in cash either, but that's kind of how I differentiate the cash versus the electronic banking. So under this bills category, I'm going to put in all of the bills that you saw on my monthly calendar, which are just a couple this week. So I use a color coding system here in my calendar to keep track of my spending. And for the week of the 15th, we're just going to look at bills, which are in orange. So I have a Michigan gas bill that is due this week, a DTE bill that is due this week, and a minimum payment for a Lowe's card that are due this week. So that's kind of the first thing I'm going to write in here. So for Michigan Gas, that is our gas company, we are on a budget plan with the gas company, and we pay $46 every single month for gas. We like being on the budget plan because we pay the exact same amount every single month, regardless of how much gas we use. So typically in the wintertime, we'd be using a ton of gas running our furnace and that sort of thing, and then in the summertime, the bill would be significantly less. But because we're on this kind of budget plan, they take our kind of yearly average and break it up into 12 monthly payments that are all the same. Makes it really easy to kind of know what we're getting ourselves into. My husband is paid based on commission, so his paychecks fluctuate a lot. He's not on a salary where he would get the same amount every single week. And so anywhere in our budget that we can make things really predictable, we do that, because with his budget or with his income being unpredictable, it can make it really difficult. Like if he has a small paycheck come in this week, but we ran our furnace a ton and our gas is ridiculously high, that's going to put us in a bit of a crunch. So if we have that $46 that we know we have to pay every month, it really kind of helps. Next up, I said DTE, correct? Yes. So DTE is our electric bill. And once again, we are on a budget plan with DTE for the same reason. It just makes it a lot easier to budget, makes it a lot easier to plan ahead. Our DTE bill's pretty darn high. We budget $212 a month for that. And the very last thing that I know I have to pay in terms of bills is a minimum payment on a Lowe's card. The way that we handle our credit cards is we pay the minimum payments that are due on our cards every single month, obviously. We don't want fees and penalties. We don't want to get ourselves in a bad situation, so we always pay the minimum payments. But we are also really striving to pay our credit cards off in 2021. We've had a few hiccups and some setbacks that might mean that we have to roll some debt into 2022, but we're still aiming to pay off our credit cards as quickly as possible. So we pay the minimum payments on all of our cards, and then we make extra debt payments every week, targeting just one card at a time. So if I'm putting the credit card under bills, that's a minimum payment. For our Lowe's card, it is a $29 minimum payment, so that is what we are going to budget for. So that's all of the bills that are due this week. There are a few other things, though, that I need to put in here, which first up is groceries. I typically use the Walmart pickup service for groceries, and that is why my budget gets put in under bills. If I were going into a store and regularly shopping, I would probably do my grocery budget in cash, and I'm thinking about trying that for the last couple of weeks in June. We'll see. But for the most part right now, I'm using the Walmart pickup service, so it just makes sense to leave that cash in my bank, pay with my debit card. I do have a link down below where you can take $10 off your first order of $50 or more from the Walmart pickup if you've never tried it and it's your first order. I highly recommend it. It's a great way to save money on groceries. If you go into a grocery store and you shop regularly, there are so many impulses. And I don't know about you, but I'm constantly putting extra things that aren't on my list in my cart when I'm in the store. But if I'm shopping just through the app, it's really easy just to go down my list, purchase the things I need, and it helps me to really stick to my budget. So I recommend the Walmart pickup service if you've not used it yet. I'm going to budget $150 for groceries. I can tell you guys right now that this grocery budget lately just has not been enough. I'm likely going to be raising this grocery budget in July, and I'm also going to be making some big changes to my sinking funds and to my sort of process in budgeting, because we've been struggling lately sticking to our budget. It's been a big mental game. Like I said, I didn't even want to film this video. I did not want to budget this week. I really just wanted to go and shop and be frivolous with money, because I feel like I've been restricting our spending so much for so long. So we're going to be shaking things up in July for sure. I may even make those changes sooner. We shall see. But for now, we're going to budget $150 for groceries. The next thing I'm going to add in here is a clothing line item. So I have a clothing sinking fund. It's got, I don't know, like $40 in it. But I need to go and take my son to get some summer clothes. He desperately needs some shorts and a new pair of sandals and things, so I'm for sure going to be taking him clothing shopping this week. So rather than going to the bank, pulling out the cash, putting it in my sinking fund, and then just turning around and immediately spending it, I'm going to just leave it in the bank and use it to make the purchases I need. I'm going to do some online shopping. We're also going to go in store. So I'm going to add $100 to our sinking fund for clothing this week, but I'm just leaving it under this bills category because I'm just going to swipe my debit card. Hopefully that makes sense. Just one less step. Less money to pull out of the bank just to turn around and have to put it back in the bank to do that online shopping. Next up, I have gas. And I've been doing our gas money under this bills category using my debit card for it lately, and it's just so much easier to pay at the pump versus going into the store and paying with cash. So we're sticking with this. I'm going to give myself a $40 gas budget, though with gas prices going sky high, this is likely a line item I'm going to have to raise in July as well. Okay, very last thing here for under this bills category is my spending money. This is another one that I used to do in cash all the time, but I was finding more and more that I was doing online shopping, so it just makes more sense to leave the money in the bank and shop with my debit card. And my spending money is going to be $40 as well. So that's everything for under my bills category. That's all the money I'm going to leave in the bank to cover all of these things. And I need to grab my calculator and add up the amounts to get a total. So let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to raise my brightness so you guys can see a little bit better. And we're just going to add these totals up. So we have $46 plus $212 plus $29 plus $150 plus $100 plus $40 plus $40 is $617. I'm just going to really quickly add that up one more time just to make sure it's accurate. You guys pointed out a pretty glaring mistake in my budget last week that I totally glossed over and missed, so I don't want that to happen again this week. Though I really appreciate you guys pointing out when I make a mistake. I don't always catch it. I make a lot of mistakes. I'm human, and I'm not that great at math. So if you see that I've made a mistake in my budget at any point in time, please don't hesitate to let me know. Okay, so that's everything for the bills category. Now we're going to move on to cash envelopes. I still feel like this darn video is so dark. I need to get some desk lamps and some other various things to help light this up, you guys. I'm sorry. So for cash envelopes, this is money that we're going to pull out of the bank, put into our cash envelopes, and spend throughout the week. This is not money that I anticipate having left over at the end of the week. This is all going to be spent. So the first category that I have here is my husband's spending money. He likes to take his spending money in cash. My husband's very hands-off with the budget. He goes and he earns the money, and he lets me handle kind of what we do with it. So he just wants his spending money at the start of every week, and the rest of it I can do whatever with. So we're going to give him $40, and that's going to get him through the week. Next up, I have my son, Austin, who is 13, and we are going to budget $20 for him for his allowance that we'll also pull out in cash. Next item is lawn care. I pay a gentleman to cut our grass whenever it needs it, and it needs it this week, so we're going to add $20 for that. And the very last category that I have here under my envelopes is miscellaneous, and that's just essentially like an extra $20 that I throw in my wallet just to have on hand in case I need it. Inevitably, there's something that comes up that I did not plan for, that I didn't budget for, and this $20 helps it helps to keep us from going over budget. So I don't even really need my calculator for this. This is $100, so we're going to go ahead and total that. So I'm going to pull $100 out of the bank in these denominations for my cash envelopes. Next up, we have sinking funds. If you are not familiar with sinking funds are little mini savings accounts, money that we are saving a little bit at a time for larger expenses, annual bills, things that we know are kind of coming up, and we want to be prepared for them. So I have over a dozen sinking funds. It's honestly too many. This is what I meant when I said that I was going to be making some changes to my sinking funds. I think I'm going to be going in and consolidating my sinking funds here pretty soon. I've been helping my oldest son do his budget. For those of you that aren't familiar, my oldest son is 18. He's still living at home, but he works full-time. He manages his own finances, and I've really been helping him kind of figure out the best way to budget for him and his style. And we keep things really, really simple when it comes to his budget, and it is so refreshing. It takes so little time to kind of sit down and do it every week, and it's kind of inspired me to make some changes and simplify my own budget. So you guys can be on the lookout for a video coming soon where I kind of sit down and consolidate my sinking funds, figure out what I really need and what I really don't. I don't know if that's going to be this month or next month, but it's coming, you guys, because I'm getting very kind of fried with our budgeting method lately. Anyway, I digress. Sinking funds. We're going to put some money into savings for the future, essentially. So we're not going to add a ton of money to a ton of sinking funds this week. This should go pretty quick. Alright, so the first sinking fund we are going to add money to is my husband's sinking fund. He has been saving up money for tools and equipment for his job. So we're going to continue with that, and we're going to add $50 to his sinking fund this week. Next up, we have holidays. So essentially, Father's Day is coming up. We're going to buy my husband a tool that he's been wanting for quite a while. It's actually a Milwaukee shop vac, which doesn't sound like a very fun gift, but it's something he's really been wanting for a while. So I need to add the amount of money into the sinking fund to cover that expense, and it's going to be $70 that we add to our holidays sinking fund. And lastly, this week, like I said, we're keeping it very, very simple. I have our vacation fund, and our vacation fund is going to get $50. So we're not adding a ton of money to sinking funds this week. I'll be honest, my husband just had a little bit of a smaller paycheck this week. As I mentioned, he is paid based on commission, so, you know, when there's not a whole lot of work, his paycheck's coming a little bit lower, so we're not saving quite as much as we typically would, but between that and, you know, the clothing purchases we have to make, it just kind of worked out that way. So we're going to go ahead and add this up. So we got 50 and 70 and 50. For a total of $170. So realistically, $170 plus that $100 into clothing, that's actually quite a bit going into sinking funds this week. Okay, next up we have our extra debt, And this is where I was mentioning that we try to put extra money towards debt every single week. We use the debt snowball method. And so the card we are currently working on and sending all of our extra money to is a Walmart card. And we're going to budget $150 to send to that card. Just, you know, chipping away at it a little bit at a time. It's got a rather large balance on it, so it's taking, it seems like forever, and it seems like every time we make a little bit of progress, we backslide a little bit, but we're doing our best, and that's all that matters. So that's $150 in extra debt payments. We might be able to send more to Walmart if, for example, one of our bills comes in a little bit lower than we anticipate. We typically will take the difference and send it to the credit card we're currently working on, but we shall see. Last thing we have here is extra savings, and this is where I write in our rollover amount. So because my husband is paid based on commission and his paychecks fluctuate, we try to roll money over week to week so that we have a little bit of money kind of already set aside to help us pay bills and expenses for next week. That way, if we get into a situation where my husband's paycheck is lower, like it was this week, we still have some money we can pull from to kind of help us make the ends meet. That is kind of our biggest way to combat our kind of inconsistent income situation, and it works out really well. I'm not going to tell you guys how much we're going to roll over though, just for privacy reasons. I do a zero-based budget, so if I were to tell you how much I was going to roll over, you could easily add up all of these totals and figure out how much money we were working with, and that kind of defeats the purpose of not sharing my husband's income. So I'm just going to kind of keep that to myself. I'll fill this in on my own off camera as well as the income amount, but that is a look at my budget for the week. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sure you can probably hear in the way that I'm speaking that I've been very kind of burnt out and overwhelmed with budgeting lately. I definitely go through phases with it. There are some weeks that I sit down and I'm so excited to track everything and, you know, really count all the cash, and I'm super involved in it. It's super fun. And then there's other weeks where I'm just like burnt out and over it. And this is definitely one of those weeks. I find that it's typically the weeks when the income comes in a little bit lower that it's kind of frustrating and not as much fun to budget, but I'm trying to kind of push through. Hopefully I can make some changes to my process in the future, make it a little bit less tedious, a little bit more fun, and I'm really grateful to you guys for watching this video because it gives me a reason to sit down and budget every week and stick to it. If it were not for you guys, I think this week I probably wouldn't have done a budget at all, and we would have just paid our bills and spent willy-nilly, so I'm glad I have you guys to help keep me accountable. Alright friends, thank you guys so much for watching. Be on the lookout for my cash envelope stuffing for the week, which will be coming up tomorrow, if all goes well. So be on the lookout for that. Don't forget to subscribe. I post new budgeting and lifestyle content here on my channel every single week. I'd love to have you come back. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.